Hi, I'm Phil Berman from Balance Catamarans, and I'm here in Cape Town at the factory for Sparcraft that makes all the aluminum rigs for the Balance Catamarans for the 526, the 620, and also the new 482. Sitting behind me is a big board here, which is basically Tich Mitchell, the general manager of Sparcraft. This is his production nightmare, you know. So he basically knows when he has to crank out all these rigs. So he's a lifetime rigger and been involved in the business, so we all work closely together. And on my right is Anton DuToit, who is my design partner for all the Balance Cats. And what we wanted to do just briefly is talk a little bit about at Balance Catamarans, because we're a balance, but we are also a little bit, well, we're much more performance oriented than the typical production charter cat. Our buyers vary in the intensity with which they want to get that last extra ounce of speed. Yeah. And we've noticed with our 526 that half of our customers will order a carbon mast and half of them won't. Most of our standard boat is an aluminum mast, aluminum boom and beams. And the 526 is a fast boat regardless of what type of rig you put on it. But people often ask, well, what's the difference in weight, you know, between these rigs? And just talking to Tish earlier and Anton, on the 526, a standard modulus carbon mast is 65 kilograms or 135 pounds.
Heavier on just the tube.
Just the tube, okay? But one of the differences that occurs when he's out there on the floor here dressing the mast, they call it dressing the mast, that's attaching all the fittings and the halyards and the spreaders and the equipment. The difference in price, in weight, comes down to about a 12 to 14% difference between a dressed carbon mast, right, and a dressed aluminum mast. And so, but the price differential for the carbon mast is running at this time around $130,000 more. Yeah. And so the question becomes for the consumer, do I want to spend that extra money to get that, you know, marginal performance gain? And I want to kind of open this up to you guys. My feeling about it is that if you're in a racing situation, that extra, you know, quarter of a knot, and maybe it makes a big difference, but from a cruising perspective, it doesn't. And so if you've got the extra money, you want to spend it, great, but it's not really going to impact your performance that significantly. What do you think?
No, absolutely. I think that there are maybe other ways to then save weight for less money, where we could go with complete composite rigging for the entire package, because then the difference in the complete rig weight would come down for less of a cost. Yeah. And I think that if you want to go the whole hog and you want to have that extra performance, yes, you go for the whole carbon rig. We can supply that as a complete carbon package. But I think the gain on the weight, the most likely, the best way you could get the weight down for less cost, but keep the general weight down to maybe sort of only, it wouldn't be 14% less, it would be only sort of 5% less, but then if you went for this composite rigging, that would be an option that you could
it's a larger proportion of the rig weight.
And also the sales.
That's a massive thing you've just said now. Yeah. You know, if you use better sailcloth, we all know the lighter the cloth, the better the performance cloth, the better it is. I mean, and that a lot of people make that mistake.
And the cost differential really isn't that great. It's kind of funny, but you know, in my business, I joke about guys, I call them spreadsheet guys, and they call up and they say, well, your boat is this long and your boat is this wide and whatever, and they don't ask me about the square volume of the cabinetry that we have compared to somebody else. They don't ask me about the equipment that we have or what have you. And I did an analysis. I was looking at the fake teak that people put in the cockpit, the flexi teak. Yes. And, you know, I'll tell you something, it takes a couple of big, strong guys to lift those rolls onto the boat, and between the adhesives and the weight of the flexi, the 135 pounds that you're going to save in the carbon rig, if you don't put on your flexi teak, you've gotten close, or even the flooring in the boat. And I also think that I was at a boat show in France, and I was looking at some of our performance competitors, and my goodness, I mean, they had like 50% less cabinetry on their boat. And I thought, well, okay, well, does somebody want our boat lighter? That's not a problem. We can just give them more cubbies and fewer drawers, and but then you have a much less livable boat. And so,
But currently your boat's doors and the cabinetry is so light, it's amazing.
yeah, it is, because it's all foam core, and and the boat was designed that way. But yeah, so the whether somebody gets an all carbon boat or an all, the costs are quite high. Like I was looking at, if you do a carbon mast, a carbon boom, carbon longeron, carbon, on the 526, it adds around $300,000 US to the price of the boat for what I think would be relatively marginal performance gains. I do think that the carbon mast is with aramid rigging or a lighter rigging is nice, but for the person that's really value conscious and they still wanted that performance, I think what you're talking about, light sails and a composite rigging with an aluminum rig, is going to be the best cluck for your buck.
If you enjoy your sailing, then the lighter sails and the carbon mast with aramid rigging would be a benefit to that particular client.
I think so.
But I still think that what Phil's suggesting is just, it's the sales are a massive gain for probably the most reasonable about. Because if you went for light cloth that holds its shape, you're paying a premium for it, but you're getting a massive gain. If you went for that and you went for the aramid side rigging or the composite rigging, then I think that would be probably the best bang for your buck.
The alley rig with the composite
300,000 buys a lot of diesel when you haven't got wind.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like the fiber path sail, the weight of the fiber path sail, the string sail versus a Dacron sail has got to be huge. It's almost like if you have a Dacron sail, you need to upsize your winch, your halyard winch, because you're pulling up Dacron's heavy.
And the performance gain from that particular sail with the cloth that you use is a lot
massive.
better.
Well, I mean, the moment
because of the shape holding capabilities of that is
just exceptional. But it is the case that the moment you go to a radial cut, any fabric you use, you really get a lot of benefit. Provided the fabric has the torsional rigidity to hold its shape in that pie. And that's why for people that are maybe more cruise oriented, that want a really, really longer lasting and durable sail, sometimes they'll get something a little bit different than a fiber path or a string sail, right? Because
But that's just a fallacy that they do last longer. I mean, I think you just got to look after them, because the new modern sailcloths are well made. You're paying for what you get. So you just got to look after it.
Right.
It's a lot about it.
And
about not abusing the sail.
And the long distance competitive sailing, the sails last all the way around the world, basically.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
And that's more miles than most cruising boats will sail.
No, that's a really good point. So.
I think that sort of thing where you manage the sails when you are into some kind of change of wind situation, how quickly you do it, and then you don't put damage on the sails. I mean, it's often they don't get around to sort of reefing or changing or doing something. So that's probably more important to do in the long run.
Or that sail with the jib furled or reefed, and then you damage the leech,
So
I think you've summarized it there. I think
that's good. So the last thing I have to say to you, is, okay, see this board here?
Yeah.
We're just gonna add boxes to this thing, okay? So with this 482, you're gonna be going flat out, man.
I can't wait for the first ones are going to come.
You're gonna be going flat out.
When is the first 482 due for?
A little less than 2 years. We're shooting like for 17 to 18 months for number one. But the first 5 are pre-sold, so we're really moving now. The tooling is underway, and Anton is fine-tuning some of the design with me. So you better get ready.
We looked at some of that deck here as well, which
we're halfway through the tooling.
Some great ideas there. I'm ready.
Great.
We're ready.
Well, thank you, buddy. It's really a pleasure.
Cool.
Anton, thanks a lot. And as we say, stay in balance.